This episode has been brought to you by Manscaped. The new Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra is every man's cheat code to look good, feel good, and turn the page on confidence this year. Go to manscaped.com, use the code GOLTS20 for 20% off plus free shipping today. This week on the Heart of the Gulch YouTube show, we sit down with restaurateur, CEO, and founder of Parker Hospitality and the owner of the Hampton Social, Bradley Parker. In today's Walk the Line episode, Bradley gives us an inside look at his famous downtown location of the Hampton Social. Let's check out the episode. We are in the Heart of the Gulch. My name is Tony Mendoza, your host, and today we got a very, very successful business owner, originally and from Chicago, Indiana University. I gave you another one for that right there. We got the owner of Hampton Social and Basement.
Yep.
And then we got the CEO of Parker Hospitality. We got the one and only Mr. Bradley Parker in the building. What's going on?
How's it going today?
Like I said, you just flew in.
Yeah, beautiful day in Nashville.
Beautiful day. But I mean, where did you just flew in from?
I just came from Palm Beach, Florida. So I was in Chicago 2 days prior to that. Palm Beach.
You were not that far from me, from Miami.
Yeah, correct. I go down there all the time. We're under construction, obviously, in Brickell. So
shout out to that, because when I was in Miami, the first thing I saw, right when I went off the Sexy Fish, I was like, everyone said, hey, look, that's Hampton Social. It's coming soon in Miami.
Yeah.
Dude, congratulations.
Yeah, that's a big one for me. Miami is definitely another major market. Nashville is a major market for, it's a sub-market technically if you look at population statistics. Miami is our first venue that's in a very major market. We have more to come this next year in Atlanta and Dallas, but it's pretty exciting. And I love Miami. I love Florida. I've been growing up traveling to it.
You got a good tan, man.
Thank you. Yeah, and it's a way to keep healthy. I mean, it's definitely. I grew up in Chicago, and it's a town of eating and drinking. Living in Florida a little bit, it's definitely brought a little bit more of the health life aspect into.
Everyone looks gorgeous, and the same thing with Nashville, right? Nashville's actually, that's one thing I've learned from coming from San Antonio. Everyone in Nashville, Miami, Chicago, New York, they all look gorgeous, man. No one's fat out there now. Chicago. Yep. Talk to me about growing up in Chicago, starting your first venture out of college.
Yep.
And, kind of give me a little background on you, man.
Well, I wish I could say I grew up with this idea of being an entrepreneur. I definitely didn't. I thought my dad, he passed away when I was 15, but prior to that, he was a traveling salesman. And, so I thought, maybe I'll do that with his company. And then I had this kick to go to law school. But I'm not good with just staying in line. Anyone who works for me knows that I'm not going in a straight line ever. And so I came out of school and I went to Indiana University, amazing school, amazing college. I learned so much there. I think really what Indiana shaped me too is, you go to these big schools and you don't realize it, but the social skills that school taught me was
no one thinks about it
is insane. When I have children and I'm teaching them, it's not just about the education, it's the surrounding you're gonna put yourself in, the environment and how you're gonna cope with that and learn to interact. And that just helped me with hospitality. So I came out, got into real estate. And honestly, I loved it. And real estate's a great field. It's a great way to make money. You make your own schedule. You kill what you eat, or you eat what you kill. And it was great. And I got out of college in 2006, and then 2008, 2009 hit, and it just crushed every thought of the 20-year real estate trend that was just up, going up. And I had to redevelop myself. And at the time, to make a long story short, because we don't have so much time for all my entrepreneurial stuff, but I started a luxury rental car business based off the fact that I was stuck with these nice cars that I owned and I couldn't sell them, and I needed to bring some income because I wasn't making money. And that parlayed itself into a luxury race experience. And I was just telling you earlier, I had one company. And in one weekend of coming up with another idea, I made more money in one weekend than I did the previous year running the other company.
It's all about being just open to new ideas. Now, I'm not you just unpacked a lot there.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to have some questions within there too. So, you said Indiana, right? Now, my dad went to Notre Dame.
All right.
Now, I'm guessing that you must be a big sports fan.
Love sports.
Okay,
love
what
sports.
are your teams?
I would say I used to love sports even more. As you go down my path to being an entrepreneur, you don't have time to watch sports, right? So I used to know everything about everything. That's why I love football. It's one game a week. I can keep up with it. I used to, obviously growing up in the 80s and 90s with Michael Jordan, I was a huge Bulls fan. I love hockey. I had some great friends that play on the Blackhawks over the years. And so it's really cool when you get to see people be in that field, have some friends throughout the NHL too. And it's an awesome sport. Again, lots of games, hard to keep up with, right? So
football, a lot to do there.
Is kind of what I've been able to keep up with it and focus on.
All right. Now you also said creating, that brand, right? It was Xtreme Xperience, right?
Yep, correct.
And within Xtreme Xperience, you had, what was your dream car when you're kind of going through the ranks? What was your first dream car?
70s Mustangs, 60s Mustangs. I own a 73 Bronco. It was one of my dream cars that I now have. But, when I was younger, I loved Lamborghinis. I loved the way they looked. They're flashy. They're cool. They're loud. Everything about it. So at 25 years old, I ventured off and somehow convinced the bank to give me a loan and give me my first Lamborghini. And I remember rolling around in Chicago, 25 years old, getting out of this Lamborghini. Granted, it was a business asset, and I was dropping off rentals, but I'd get out for it at these major restaurants, and people would be like, "Who the heck is this little punk 25, 26? Get out of what's his dad do? It's dad's money."
That's what everyone seems to say, because just having any kind of sports car, any kind of coupe car, really.
Yeah.
And people will always assume certain things. Now, I'll let you get a drink of that. Now, one thing that I saw. And when I was doing my research on you, were the types of cars that you were getting for Xtreme Xperinces. Now, you just told me kind of the backstory outside of the studio here.
Yeah.
But so you said it was a Bentley.
So what happened was I was in a position where I had these two cars I couldn't rent out or couldn't afford to own anymore. So somehow I had this great idea. A friend of mine had a rental car company in Miami. I decided I was going to do the same thing, and I went out one day, bought a Bentley, a Lamborghini, with all my savings that I had at the time. Bentley, Lamborghini, and a new Range Rover. Mm-hmm. And at that time, it was I think the market had crashed in real estate, but loans for the banks for cars were still going. I had to put 5 or 10% down. Went out to 3 dealerships in one day, got 3 loans. I don't even know if it's not illegal, but it's definitely faux pas to go put 3 car loans on your credit when the other people don't know they're giving you that car. But they don't hit that fast. And so I got these 3 loans. 2 weeks later, my credit's crap, and but I had these assets, and I started renting them out. And it was awesome, but there's a lot of headaches just renting out cars. Luxury vehicles, people not taking care of them, banging a rim.
Short term too, because you think about it.
A day or two, someone wants it for its prom for $1,600.
Music videos.
Yeah, music videos. Many cars messed up in music videos.
Really?
Yeah. They take them for the music video. They sit on the hood. All of a sudden, butts and scratches the hood, and then you're telling them, "Hey, that's a $20,000 fix," and they're like, "What? I only paid $1,600 for this car."
R.I.P.
We had a Rolls Royce once go out to Atlanta for a music video, and the entire thing came back with the hood destroyed. It was insane. But people don't think of this; they think of them like rental objects. They're your objects, and it got frustrating. So I started doing that, and over a couple months, was doing very, very well. And a buddy of mine came to me and said, "Hey, I'm sick and tired of being an attorney. I want to get into another business." I said, "What business?" He said, "Let's get in the bar business." I said, "I'm 27 years old." I said, "Sounds like a great business to be in at 27 years old." Like I said, I can pivot real quick, and decided to go open a bar. And not only did I decide to open a bar, it was a 17,000 square foot bar in the middle of River North Chicago as our first attempt at it. I don't know what I was doing, thinking to take that project on. But it was the best decision I ever made. It definitely had its challenges. I sold it 3 years later. My partner decided to, get out of the industry. It wasn't for him. Hence we sold it, and I continued on and decided I wanted to be in restaurants. So, with every opportunity, you never know what's around the corner.
But now, back then, at 27 years old, creating a bar experience, I mean, come on. There's got to be so many more. I mean, you could go down the list of challenges, but like, what's one thing that sticks out of your mind that you just did not do back then?
I mean, anything. Honestly, I just looking back and what we do now to open a venue, it's kind of amazing that I actually got a venue open, and I think that's just part of grit. I think at some point in life, you can have all these SOPs, you can have all this stuff, but like to actually make shit happen. I apologize for my French, but you have to put one foot in front of the other, and you just have to go. And the goal is to learn from your mistakes, but don't burn bridges while you do it. That's all. You can make mistakes in business, but you can't burn your bridges. Going from American Junkie to Hampton Social, I have learned 8 years later, because it's amazing. It's only actually been 8 years, but where we are today when I open a restaurant is nowhere even where I was for that one. So it's a progression. But I would say for any entrepreneur out there, you have to have a good idea. Sometimes it takes getting lucky, picking the right thing, picking Hampton Social and designing it was the right thing for us. But I mean, you have to have grit. I mean, and you just have to make things happen, like, because they have to happen. Like, it's going, like a restaurant, it's going to open, so you better get it open, and you better fill all those holes. And for a while, it's just you plugging your fingers into different holes that are leaking and trying to survive. But hopefully, if you're good at being an entrepreneur, you'll figure out how to get there.
So I was doing a lot of research on this man right here, and his story is pretty amazing. And the reason why I say your story is pretty amazing, because you got to see kind of what we do here in the Heart of the Gulch. Is you saw it from a women's perspective starting Hampton Social, because I realized really quickly in the world of YouTube and Instagram and TikTok, right? Who runs the world?
Women run the world. Beyonce got it right.
That's right. And that's what actually, that deserves a Ric Flair. Now, you noticed that your sisters did not go into your bar.
Yep.
Tell me the reason why they just wouldn't go to your bar, even though
you think about it. I used to sit there and be like, man, I built this really cool bar. It took me a lot of time and effort. And one of my sisters worked there, but the other ones, it wasn't like, man, if my sibling opened a bar, I'd be there like every day. I'd be milking them for it, trying to snag my free meals, whatever it was. And they just weren't coming. And one of my sisters come by, there's a sporting event on, she's big into sports, do it. But like, they weren't really like hanging out, or when they came in, they liked it, but it wasn't like, they're like, oh my gosh, this is great. So as I left, I was like, man, I want my restaurants full of women. Like, women tell their husbands where to go. Women bring the children where they go. They kind of dictate what's cool. I mean, look at fashion, look at anything. And so I said, hey, I have to build something that caters towards them. And that's kind of where it came from. And every thought process I went through was like, our girl's going to like this. The Rose All Day sign. Our girl's going to take pictures with this. Like, everything that we did, when we designed menus, I'm always like, our female's going to like this. Now, listen, I don't forget about the men out there. When you come to our restaurant, our burger's amazing. We have items on there for you. We're catering towards men too. It's just our overall, focus is women. I mean, every major clothing brand basically does that. If you look at men's brands, they're usually owned by a successful women's brand. Like, that's how it happens. We're like the second thought on everything. So it doesn't matter if it's when cars are beautiful. I mean, why do you buy cars? Why do we get haircuts? Why do guys get sports cars? It's because girls are like, oh, that's a beautiful car. I love your car, whatever. So I always say that the women kind of keep the world turning and keep the men motivated to work. Absolutely. Now I want to kind of go back to the beginning stages of Hampton Social. Just push it in like this right here. Now, when you were developing this concept, right, you were looking at it from not only from the eyeballs of, women that are interested in going, but you also looked at it from, tell me the story about why the Hamptons. Was it just not a thing at the time? The Hampton Social just sounds very nice. Yeah, I mean, that was the other thing. I looked at brands that have grown across the United States. And in order for a brand to be across the United States, across the world, you have to know what it is before going in there. I mean, I always talk about Rainforest Cafe or Time Bahama. You see that brand and you're like, okay, I get what I'm going to, Rainforest Cafe, there's a bunch of animals on the outside, you walk in, you're like, I get it. When I was a kid, I loved that place downtown Chicago. But so as I was thinking about building this like destinational place, and I was thinking like, what's synonymous? What does every girl know, whether they've been there or not? It was the Hamptons. It was the Kardashians. It was, Martha Stewart, Nantucket, that whole like vibe, like it just seems beachy, and girls get it. You open them, you see the magazines, the home and decor magazines on someone's table, and it was like all these like summer homes in the Hamptons, summer homes in Nantucket. Here's this, here's that.
Soho, just looking very, very much like you can relax somewhere, and you like a good beach.
I love beaches. I travel all the time, so I work hard, but I've made sure to balance that with experiences.
But now going back to developing this brand, so obviously Hampton wasn't really one of those name brands that were out there. Just there weren't anything called Hampton anything, and you were able to find that. How did you coin that phrase?
I mean, you had the Hampton Inn at the time, right? The hotel.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of scary going into are people going to relate us to the Hampton Inn? It's a budget friendly
very budget
motel. Mm-hmm. We were going through names and we were thinking like, call it something just like the Hampton or something like that. And my head creative director was like, how about the Hampton Social? Like, it's a social place. Let's just call it what it is. It's a Hampton Social. That's it. And at first I was like, man, that's just it's too in your face. And then after a while, what I realized is like, that's what it takes to build a brand and have people understand what you're trying to sell before they get in the door. So when you see our logo, when you see our sign, when you see a glimpse of what we are, you already know what you're going to get. The color palette, you get it. You understand it. When you hear the name and you see someone post a picture of it, people are like, I get what it's going to be. It's a Hamptons themed restaurant. And it's as simple as that. You don't realize sometimes you're doing like the most simple thing and it works.
You're building a brand. You're building a legacy. You're building a product that is going to be on forever. And I'll let you get a drink of that right there. But one thing that I realized in doing my research is that when you took that step to Hampton Social, you started investing in the people.
My job is to build a vision. I will tell you right now, I am not the best chef in our company. I am not the best operator in our company. I am not the best marketer in our company. I know a little bit about each one of those fields, but my job is to build a vision as to where this company is going to go. So when we started early on, I had to get a couple guys to say, listen, I can't afford to pay you. We have one restaurant, but I know that in order to have 10 restaurants, we need more people. So there's certain people we have to pay because you can't just give everyone that ability. And then there's certain people you have to build that vision with and say, hey, you stick by this. I promise to build. I'll go do my job and grow this thing because that's what I do. As I push us to grow, I pick new locations. I build the brand. I build the the aesthetics and the vision of the brand. And then you guys have to get my back and operate this thing. And if you can do that, then we're going to build something great here. And that's basically what happens. And I think in any company, it doesn't matter if it's restaurants, a good visionary will do that with his team.
Well, I like that. And we're going to take a quick break and then we're going to talk about the growth. All right?
All right.
All right. Wintertime is almost over. Spring is on the way. So fellas, it's time to pull out your junk and assess the damage. Trim those hedges, mow those lawns. And no, I'm not talking about grass. I'm talking about what's in between your Manscaped new Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra is every man's cheat code to look good, feel good, and turn the page on confidence this year. Whether you're going for a trim or that clean-shaven look, this trimmer has you covered. Go to manscaped.com, use the code GOLDS20 for 20% off plus free shipping. Your first ever Hampton Social in Chicago.
Yep.
Man, tell me about the challenges.
I didn't realize that, we would open to such success. And that was its own, you think, oh my God, that's amazing. And it's its own, we weren't prepared for it. Our cocktail programs weren't prepared for it.
How fast was the success?
I was hoping to do like 300, 400,000 my first month. And we did like $1.2 million. So it was like, we went off the.
What was that first week like?
We had to, as a restaurant, we had to shut our doors and hire security so people would stop coming in.
How did you get that
I was in the bar business, so I knew security pretty quickly. But I mean, we had someone fall out our window the first week because the place was so packed. And our first restaurant's like our floor is like 3 feet elevated off the street level, so that wasn't good. Thank God you have insurance for that kind of stuff. And then it was just places packed shoulder to shoulder. People are pissed off about drinks. They're pissed off about the food service. And you're like, I'm not staffed for this, right? So then we had to literally get, security at the front door to be like, hey, people can't come in. They're like, I want to go in. They're like,
which makes more people want to come.
yeah. And we're like, you can't come in because we want to provide the best service. And that took a second to get our feet underneath us and to get on the right track there. But
service, because, obviously your brand's hospitality. Right. And hospitality is more than just owning restaurants.
Yep.
And what's amazing, though, is that you've been able to cater to a 20-year-old bachelorette,
yep,
to a 60-year-old grandma who just wants to get brunch on a Sunday after church.
Yep.
That is not easy.
No.
I mean, we talked earlier. I was listening to someone talk about Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift, the reason why her music keeps growing is because she keeps investing in the youth.
Yep.
Just with her music.
Yeah.
Now, how are you able to, walk that fine line of having a 15-year-old look at it on Instagram, hoping to one day be able to afford to go into these places, right? And because, 15-year-olds can't afford $20.
They come in and take pictures all the time. It's hilarious.
But they leave, right?
Yeah.
And they're not
spending money.
But then, 20-year-olds to 30-year-olds spending a lot of money. What's your demographic like?
But we always say 25 to 35-year-old is our core demographic. But you're right. I mean, Taylor Swift, for example, has a 14-year-old girl in there and a 55-year-old woman just screaming at the top of their lungs. My sister's one of those Swifties. She's 35. She went to the concert in Chicago last week.
Shout out to the Swifties, by the way.
Yeah, right? And she's there. And I'm seeing these videos, and like I said, there's, people my mother's age just enjoying it. And
same in your restaurant,
same in my restaurant. So, we have restaurants in Naples, Florida, which is an older demographic. We have them in Chicago. We have them in Nashville. It's younger. But, as we built it, I was like, man, this is pretty amazing. I have these like mothers and their daughters coming to enjoy one thing together. I mean, how much like in the state of selling something, like selling that ability for them to connect, or for girls to go out with their girlfriends, and for these 14-year-olds to see on Instagram, oh my God, that's something I want to go do with my friends someday. You'd be surprised how many like buyouts we get for our private dining rooms and stuff for like 14-year-old birthday parties. They can't drink any alcohol. They have these huge minimums, but their parents are like, this is what she like dreams of doing. It's just kind of funny to see, but God's blessed us in making sure that we're able to do that. And so there's not a lot of brands out there that can pull that off. Talk
to me about growing your audience, growing that business, finding the right niche, because you say it yourself that you're lucky that you found the right thing that people related to. But how are you able to market that to almost everyone without really touching a lot of advertisement?
I mean, that's the beauty of social media, right? And the best type of social media is when you can get other people to do it for you. So as we started building the restaurant and we built more of our restaurants, everything we design is based on someone trying to take a picture of something. Because if I can get, thousands of people coming into your photographing my restaurant, that's free marketing for me. And we didn't have marketing budgets, and restaurants don't have the budgets to market a lot of times. So building that was pretty eye-opening. And I did it with the cars. I mean, the best thing about racing sports cars is everyone's taking pictures of them flying down so I already knew that, my self-promotion of a brand was get other people to do it for you. And that's still my philosophy today. When we build a restaurant or we're working on something, that is the most powerful sales tool. I mean, if your podcast, everyone's, saying, hey, go check this out, go check this out, go check this out. It's no different than a restaurant. Every time they're posting a picture of your food or the interior, that's them telling their friends to go check it out.
All right. Outside of the Instagrammable walls,
yep,
what is one of the items on your menu, whether it's cocktail or food? What's the one most Instagrammable thing that you'll see?
I think it's our cocktail. It's called the Glitterly Can't. I don't know. It's got glitter on top of this martini glass, and girls love it. At Basement, our other concept, we started the trend, and more people are doing it, where you take the espresso martinis and you can imprint a face on top of them. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you've seen them. And we had a cocktail list with famous musicians as the names of the cocktails. And so we started putting that on there. And then when people would have their birthdays, they would send in a picture of their face, and their face would come out on cocktails. So I find girls like that. They love the large format, drinks. But and I think food and beverage is important. It's not, to me, the feeling you get when you walk into a restaurant is the number one most important thing.
Talk about that. So walking into a restaurant, like we were just talking earlier, I walked into Sexy Fish in Miami, and the first thing I say is, Okay, wow. This is really awesome.
It's impressive.
Right? So what do you want people to see when they go into Basement, when they go into Hampton Social, when they walk in? What is something you want?
Immediately when I opened the first Hampton Social, I'd sit by the host stand. No one knew who I was, but I would try to listen to people who don't know who I was, and they'd walk in and be like, "Oh my God, this place is so cute." And if you can get that from someone right when they walk in your venue, the rest of the experience is a lot easier to win them over, right? Listen, there's a lot of places to eat food. We come from Chicago. There's 1,000 great restaurants. There's 1,000 great places to get a good cocktail. There aren't a lot of places that make you feel, oh, I love this place, right? Basement's the same thing. You walk down our stairs in Chicago with the curtains open, and immediately people are like, holy cow, this is cool. I think that's the key to any of my restaurants that I do is having that split-second first experience when you go through our doors. And we call it in our marketing team, we transport the guest. So it's like going through a transporter. With that front door, you walk through, and you better think in Basement you're in London in a speakeasy. You better think you're in the Hamptons when you walk through my front door of my Hampton restaurant. If you're at Nisos Prime, you're going straight into the Mediterranean. New concept we have opening up called Costera. You better transport straight to Tulum the second you go through that front door. So we have these transportation experiences, we call them.
Give me your, so with all those businesses, right? All those restaurants, all those concepts, as they say, can you tell me what the typical guest is for each of those concepts?
I mean, we like to say that our typical guest, again, is 25 to 35, 38-year-old women with disposable income. That's kind of our broad stroke when we think about what we're doing. But each concept's, geared a little bit different. It has its tweaks. Nisos Prime's steakhouse, and that will, have its business man in a sense, the idea of that steakhouse geared in towards it and put into that marketing pitch. But I think if you can hit the demographic that we're going for, it has legs, because if you catch them there and you catch the earlier demographic and then you can hold them on a long time, you have about a 30 to 40 year lifespan of a client. And in a restaurant, that's really, really hard to do.
Who's your mentors, or who do you look at that inspires you from a business perspective?
Dick Portillo from Portillo's, those guys really are just, guys that I've looked up to and given me the aspiration to go build what we're building. Mm-hmm. And then from a personal side, honestly, my mom has been an amazing mentor to me. When my father passed away when I was 15, she took over the reins, did the best she could. But one of the things she always did was just support me and my crazy, ideas. But without that ability to feel like you can accomplish anything, it's hard to go out there. I think the success, I touched on it briefly, coming from my father passed away. If you can get to a point in life where you feel like you hit your lowest and you're never scared to go back there, meaning I always had this mentality of hey, it can't get worse than this. So why not try? It can't, this is in America too, I apologize, but we're a bunch of spoiled brats. We talk
Absolutely.
about our worst case scenario. I hear people all the time oh, my life's so hard. I can't believe it. I had to go to work 40 hours this week, and they're living in nice apartments. And I'm man, I've traveled to Africa. I've seen how people live.
You're a competitive guy, right?
Yeah.
So when you're seeing someone, how much are you trying to compare yourself to others?
I mean, constantly. If you're not cut out for business. First of all, going back to the entrepreneurship, it's not meant for everyone. It's glitz. It looks glitz. It looks glamorous. You see it on Instagram.
Can't sleep.
Man, it sucks. It's very stressful. This week alone, I have, 1,200 people counting on me to make the right decisions. That's 1,200 individuals. You multiply that by families. It's probably about 2,500 to 3,000 people in the United States that rely on the decisions I make every single day to not go screw this thing up.
How do you sleep at night?
you don't sleep that much, but it's a burden that once you take on, go into it and you get into it and you find some traction to it, now you start setting some benchmarks and you look at, if you don't think I look at what the guys I admire, and there's not competitors. There aren't competitors in our business. I always said, these are all gentlemen and females that I admire that have created great things. But you look at those benchmarks and say, okay, how are we comparing to that? What are they doing? How many are they opening? What's their profitability? How's it working? And then I think that's how we make everyone better, right? It's in basketball, you're going to play one-on-one. If I can beat that guy, it makes him better, right? You're playing to make each other better. And it's a competition. At the end of the day, listen, we're all hopefully winning. I got into business to make money. I don't do it anymore to make money. It's crazy. And now it's, you get to a point where you say, wow, I kind of blew by what my aspirations were. So what is this about now? And now that's really a great time when it starts becoming about your company, about the people. How do you get other people to grow? How do you get other people to come into situations and realize they've achieved beyond their dreams? I mean, there's no better story than like a dishwasher in our company ended up being a manager in a store. Like he never thought he could be there, but it's because, he put in the hard work. We put in the coaching and nurturing to get him to where he wants to be. And I think, you could work at a corporation, just be the best person at that corporation. You will succeed. My brother-in-law's father was a CEO of a Fortune 500 company, very successful United States CEO, and he worked all the way up to that spot through sticking with the same company. He didn't leave companies. I think the problem we have in this country is everyone wants to jump ship. Every time someone waves a new dollar in front of them, and I've only seen really successful people either be entrepreneurs and go out and do it on your own, or stick with someone who's doing the same thing. Like stick with them, be their soldier, be by their side. And if you believe in that entrepreneur or that person or that CEO that you're working with, and you put in that hard work, you will get to where you want to be. It might be a little slow road. Maybe there's not, with entrepreneurship, there's no ceiling to what you can accomplish. You can go be the next Elon Musk and be a multi-trillionaire or whatever you want. But I'm telling you, Elon did not become what he is today because it was about the money. He got there because it was about the ambition that he had.
Here comes the fun part. My favorite part of the show is we have a section called Crowd Noise, where people ask you questions and you got to do your best to give out the answers. You ready to go?
Yeah.
All right, let's do it.
Brad, what is your top 5 favorite publications you have been featured in?
Top 5. Cranes, Chicago. That was a big one for me. I mean, you grow up in a city admiring these business professionals that go into it, and everyone gets in there for different reasons, but to do that was big. Recently was in I believe Eater. I mean, I love Eater. It's a great.
We all use it.
Yeah, it's awesome. They've been awesome for us for the most part, and just supporting everything I've been doing throughout the years and following. Some Forbes stuff that I've been in has been really cool. Man, it's hard to picture. I can't off the top of my head all 5, but I think those would be the biggest one. I can pick the biggest one, and that was Cranes. I love, being a business guy, getting into something like that.
Well, speaking about great mind, right? So you went from 1 to almost 9 locations within 5 years.
Yeah. So the pre-COVID, we exploded. I mean, like I said, it was a fast growth. So yeah, it was 1 to 9 locations. Currently, in 8-year time span, we went from, well, what are you at now? Like almost 9, 10, 11. We're right about, in under 8 years, we'll be about 12 locations, and have gone from about $0 in sales to over about those assets put off about $130 million.
Man, that's crazy. Now, let me tell you this. So let me ask this question. So obviously we're in Nashville, Tennessee. We haven't really talked very much about Nashville, Tennessee. That's how you know it's a good podcast. Now, Nashville, Tennessee is the home of the bachelorette capital of the world.
Yes, it is.
And obviously, what are some of the funniest pictures you've seen from posted at your location here at Hampton Social with bachelorettes?
Oh man, to pick the funniest ones, I don't know, but I mean the women and girls that come down here, and guys for their bachelorette, these days. But when they come down here and just have a good time, they are out to have a good time. And I think what's great is Hampton Socials, that middle ground. It's not Broadway, it's not a fancy restaurant. It's like that perfect place for them to go and have a quality, sophisticated meal, but still not feel pretentious in any way, and go up to that rooftop and have all your interesting devices that they carry around with them and take pictures of and have a good time. But they do it in, I would say, they at Hampton Social, they carry themselves in as much as of a classy way as you can in that situation. But they are, our backbone of why the city is so successful. And my sister went to Vanderbilt here, and I've seen it for now 15 years or almost since she went here, and I've just seen the city explode. It's crazy. It's awesome to see. I love it. The city deserves it.
Now talk to me about one of the other locations, maybe in Florida, where it's a different, completely different audience.
Yeah, and that's a great thing about the brand is, we have that ability. We're in the suburbs of Chicago. Like, we're 45, 50 minutes outside the suburbs of Chicago in a town like South Barrington, which is your typical, kids, moms, soccer, all this kind of stuff, and it does fantastic. And then we're in Delray Beach, Florida, which is this like beach vibe town, which it's great. It's this vacation experience. People are definitely in there. I would say, more of the 45 to 50-year-old demographic sitting around the bar having a good time, families coming in for meals. And then also we get that younger place. We're going to be in Miami, which will be a whole different demographic.
Let's talk about Miami because, first of all, do your menus change in these locations?
No.
Okay, so it stays the same. That's good. That's a good checkpoint, right? Yep. Now, tell me about Miami. Like I said, you're literally right across the street from Sexy Fish. And for the people that do not know what Sexy Fish is, it's just a upscale, very much Instagrammable, good food. It's an amazing experience. But
out of London, they came from London.
That's right, and you're literally not even you're walking distance from that.
Yeah.
So are we expecting the Hampton Social there in Miami to be completely different from what we've experienced?
No, it's definitely a little bit more bougie, maybe. But the idea is Miami is overrun with very nice and expensive restaurants. Mm-hmm. Just because you live in a city like Miami that's booming and you have this international crowd and they're spending all this money, I don't believe it means you need to have every restaurant be like that. We're there to design a restaurant that, again, mostly I think females can go to enjoy it and not break the bank. I mean, we're very price conscious. We look at ourselves like the new Houston. So when you say don't change, have we changed the menu? We haven't changed the menu on purpose between locations because we believe that the food experience should be exactly the same everywhere you go. The ambiance and the atmosphere can change in each location. One might be more lively, so Miami's definitely going to be more lively. Probably stay going later. Have
maybe
more
have
of a Latin.
DJ.
It's going to have more even of a Latin feel. It's Miami is partially Latin America, and so we want to cater to those people and make everyone feel comfortable. But you'll get the core of what a Hampton Social is, but also at the same time, we're not going to take advantage of a situation like Miami where prices have gotten so high and just try to reap on that. We still want people to consider us a not budget, but a price-friendly concept.
What's your favorite outside of number one?
Yep.
What's your favorite location outside of number one?
Right now?
Yeah.
I mean, we all know Nashville. So we're in Nashville. I'm not just saying that I love this brand. It's, I think, one that put us on charts. But I'd have to say right now, Delray Beach.
Why so?
It was our newest one we just developed. It's got a lot of love and care. It was a 4-year project to get that open. And I think it's just firing on all cylinders right now between quality, staff. Everything's really, really done well there. And I think it's a good baseline for, every project we do, we try to get better. Yes. So we're building Dallas. I mean, Dallas is going to be 18,000 square foot place. That's just the Hampton Social. We're launching a new brand attached to it called Hampton House, which is a private members club underneath it. So there's a lot of cool new things going on. But these new builds are pretty out of this world.
But at some point, there's got to be some kind of like scariness to growing so quickly.
There, 100% there is. And I think that's, I don't know if it's as much scariness for myself as you again, you got to get the people to believe in that vision, and it's a lot of work, and it's hard sometimes. Day in, day out, they go through the grind and they lose track of that vision and they lose track of what they're building. You know, it's very easy to say, hey, I've said this a lot of times, guys, think back to the people who first started Apple. Go watch Steve Jobs' movie out of a garage. To tell them, if they knew that Apple would be where it is today, nothing would stop anyone from that company. How many people do you think fell out of that company over the years because they lost faith in it? Thousands and thousands, right? But that company is where it is today, and if everyone knew what they knew, so you have to look at where you're at and say, guys, we are going to be $1 billion restaurant group. We are going to be the next Darden's of the world. We are going to be this, 500-600 location, brand in 15, 20 years from now. If you can keep your eyes on that and get there, I think that's huge.
Well, let's see here. I got one more question. Speaking of brands, let's see.
Brad, what are some must-have qualities you need to start a successful business?
You need to be a little bit delusional. And I mean that in like like everyone, you said something before we started this podcast, and I've heard it before. When a lot of people are telling you you're crazy, sometimes you're right. And a lot of times you're right. And so you have to be a little delusional in that people are like, from my mom, when I first said I was going to not go to law school and I was going to do something and I got in the restaurant business, like, oh, you're crazy, right? The more people that tell you something's crazy, it means the fewer people that are going to try to do it. So you're finding yourself into a space. If someone told, Elon Musk going to the moon or whatever, going to outer space, it sounds crazy. But you got to go out there and do that. So I think that's quality. 2, tenacity. This is any business is going to knock you down. And I don't know what the statistic is, but many of them don't succeed. And I don't think many businesses don't succeed because the business is bad. I think the person that's getting knocked down has just gotten knocked down one too many times, and they jet to do something else.
Checkpoints.
Yeah.
Or no SOPs to help them. And that's one thing that Hampton Social's done very well. And that's my research on you was man, that you've been able to keep this standard checklist on everything. And that keeps someone, even though you go through the motions and you don't need the checklist every time, having a checklist just keeps you aware of, okay, this does need to be done.
Sounds so stupid, but you have to have it. I mean, it's as simple as lock the door at the front of the building, right? Like if you don't have that there, like even though, we know you locked the door, but you'd be surprised if someone forgets that sometimes, right? So building those checklists, if I could go back and know what I know now, before I started a business, I would sit there and write out every checklist, everything that needs to be done before even signing a lease or doing everything. Just get it all down on paper. Get whatever you're doing for your business, all your day in, day out things that you want people to be handling, get those documented and then and go and do it. So having that kind of delusional thought process, having the tenacity to keep through it and keep going, and then, why you want to do it. I think that's one thing I learned through my career is why did I do this? At first it was to make money and provide for my sisters and my mom. We lost our father when I was younger, so I always wanted to be that backstop. Not that they can't go do it themselves. They can all go do it themselves, but just to be able to be that safety net in case something goes wrong. I wanted to be that. But you got to be in business for a different reason than just making money, because I'm telling you right now, everything I've been through, even to get to this point, if it was just for money, I'd say I wouldn't do it again. You would have stopped after. I would have gotten a job and enjoyed every single weekend and done things that like other people can't do, because you can't listen, we're only here so long on this earth and you never know where you're going to go. My dad passed away at 45 years old. So, he kind of taught me that. And so enjoy your time. So if you're going to do it, love what you're doing. For me, this doesn't feel like a job. It does not. I love it. Even when people come to me stressed, I love it. I wouldn't change this for any job in the world. Not a professional athlete, not an actor. For me, this is my spot where I'm supposed to be. And so I think if people find themselves in those spots, that's when they're successful.
All right, my last 2 questions on the show. Right. Okay, this is my favorite time to ask these questions. So the first question always has to do about hate, because we've all had naysayers. We've all had people say that you're crazy. We've all had even internet trolls that just want to just say because they didn't like your outfit today, right? Yep. Forget you. I ate in Miami. That's why I look fat right now. How do you stay above it? How do you not let it get to you? How do you continue to pursue on throughout the hate and the naysayers?
Well, this is the perfect question for a guy in my industry. A lot of hate, a lot of rumors, trash talk, whatever you can have. Let it fuel you. Let it just fuel you. Take that and put it into some compartment that drives you. That's all I can say. Whenever someone tells me I can't do something or something failed or whatever, it fuels me more. So for me, give more hate, because you're just empowering me to go succeed more. It's when everyone tells you everything's great, you're perfect. That's when you get like complacent. That's when you think like, I've hit the spot, I don't need to do anything else. I think that's why, children that are like babied and told they're perfect all the time usually don't amount to be much, because they've never had that fuel. I mean, when I was young, I had ADD. People told me I got held back in kindergarten. I mean, all these things have fueled me to go prove something to people. So I think you need that drive.
Absolutely. Now, my last question is pretty simple. Before we go on to your day in the life, we have a section on the show called Walk the Line. That's what makes it a little different from a podcast. It's a YouTube show because I want people to see your behind the scenes.
Yep.
In 3, 2.
I'm Brad Parker, CEO of Parker Hospitality, and this is how I walk the line.
Hey.
Thanks for joining us on a day in the life with me. This is the creative side of what we do. Get to travel around and design cool concepts. I want to thank Philip for coming out here and turning some of our dreams into reality. So thanks for joining us, and I hope you enjoy the podcast.